at least Malaysia shark is gentle. Because we are gentle, the same water we are drinking flowing into the sea, and why should the shark different from us? We never hear shark bite incidents in our country. If there is, also probably it's from the illegal immigrants. How gentle the shark can be, it can be like this. You can train them. And for them, human actually more terrifying because we hunt them for the fin just for a bowl of soup. So as a diver, I've signed and say no to the shark fin soup. And diving itself actually can be very romantic. Just to show one photos, this my wife and myself taken before I come in campus after a diving trip. Can look at my hair. At that time, I have more black hair compared to now. Now I have much more white hair. So another point of muscle training, it can make you older. So think twice before you join. If you have joined, then no choice. Just accept the reality that you will be older. And even under the water, also you can be very romantic. You can hold your beloved hand. On top was my wife. It's my wife. Sorry. And below holding is me. If you think this is not romantic enough, how about this? Getting married in the sea. Obviously, the guy is not me. He's a Caucasian. And luckily, the girl is not my wife also. And so in summary, diving is fun. And you can apply orthopedic knowledge as well. And there are a lot of creatures you can see. And it can be very romantic during diving. So, are you interested now? You just need 5 days in order to get the entrance ticket. And actually, I told the same thing, I think 1.5 years ago to one of my professors. And the response I got was, 5 days I can write 2 journals. What are you talking about? So at that time, I didn't answer. So probably, Prof, did I answer your question at this moment? So if any one of you have decided to take the course, just let me know 1 or 2 months beforehand so I can arrange. Not arrange about the resort or the transport. I can arrange myself to take an instructor course so that I can be instructor before you all come. So that this can happen. Instructor in front, student at the back. And that's my time. Thank you. I can only show my back because my front had a lot of floppy stomach. I only can show my front after I have my fellowship training under Prof. Vivek. So the last point in muscle training, show your strength, don't show your weakness, especially during your exam. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, first of all, I would like to say good morning to my beloved teachers, the distinguished guests, and my fellow colleagues. To tell the truth, I'm never comfortable addressing an audience. So bear with me, please. Anyway, I'm given an opportunity to say something, and I'll take this opportunity to actually acknowledge some of the very important and unique people that made this journey a success. So that's me and my wife and my kids. So being the head of a family with 4 kids and going through this journey was extremely challenging to me. Although initially it was driven by the passion of achieving my goals to be an orthopedic surgeon, but the challenge was so huge that quitting seemed to be an easy escape route, but I kept holding to my dreams, and finally, now I made it. However, I wouldn't have achieved it without the guidance and support of some of the very unique and outstanding people that I've came across during this journey. Oh yeah. Okay, so the first is the gems in this journey. The most important person I look upon is the one I've borrowed this picture from, actually without asking his permission. He's indirectly responsible for my love for ortho, and this was way back when he was a lecturer, and I was doing an attachment as a medical student from a foreign university. I was so fascinated by his lecture, and to date, it never failed to have the same effect on me, if not better. But although he wasn't around much last year during last year due to his sabbatical leave, but his guidance was there during our long cases and especially the WhatsApp teachings, which was very valuable. And he was no doubt a major contributing factor to my success. Of course, the person is Prof. Kwan. Thank you, Prof. Kwan. And actually, this is a snapshot. If you can see the red arrow up, it's not very clear. It's a lecture that I took, lecture notes that I took during his teaching in 2003, in August 2003, that I still treasure until now. So the next person is someone who I've always regarded as a motherly figure in our department. I suppose everybody knows that. She's very approachable, and her presence alone brings warmth and such comfort to the teaching environment. Won't be any stress during the teaching sessions, but there'll be very useful approaches and tips, especially for approaching exams. And one of the quotes that I'll never forget is whenever she asks us a question and on how would you do the surgery and we all go blank, she would say, start with, I'll perform the surgery under magnification and in a bloodless surgical field. Yeah, I'll never forget that, Prof. Thank you, Prof. Sarah. Okay, so the next is, I suppose everybody knows who's talking about. He's someone who actually failed me in my end of posting when I was very sure that I passed, because I thought I answered most of his questions well, and I thought I had at least 60% covered, and I actually even told my wife that I think I'm sure I passed. But I was shocked to see the spectrum where our results was, and it was like 45. And I was cursing myself, and actually indirectly cursing him, saying, why can't he give me another 5 marks, just 5 points to pass? But then when I read the fine print, he wrote there, he commented, because it was a very crucial mistake, because I didn't get the principles right, the principles of management of osteosarcoma. And when I read that, that's when I realized that it's a huge mistake, and indirectly I was motivated by that failure and then moved on. So thank you, Prof. Vivek. Okay, so the next person who's always have a smiling face, even looking at her face made me smile always. Even when there was one occasion when we were supposed to go to OT and all the master students were late to OT, and she had to position the patient by herself with the help of PPKs. And she was angry, but she said it in such a way that she was smiling and told us that next time please come early. She's a very pleasant and approachable person and a wonderful tutor, and I'll never forget her lectures. But then you should see her face when we give some silly answers to her questions. She gets irritated, but at the same time she's still smiling. Yeah, and of course it's Prof. Azura. Next is I suppose we know who's this. Okay, he's someone he is a person who has this motto of supervised neglect. I knew him previously when I was in Klang Hospital. So same thing. Even there, he always encouraged to perform surgeries with minimal guidance. But the good part is he always backs up in any case of complications. So he's besides that, I also must thank him for allowing me to use the trauma room, which was our base for my group discussions for the exam. In fact, the trauma room was my home for the last 6 months. I spent more time in the trauma room than going back. I usually come early around 5, 6 o'clock and leave around 12, 1 o'clock. So it was my home for the last 6 months. Thank you, Mr. Kumar, Dr. Kumar. I think he's not around today. And of course, not forgetting my supervisor. It's not a she, but it's a guy. But I think he's not around, so I can say this safely. But he's someone who has a character of a female when it comes to nagging. Oh my God, he can go on and on and on and on. And there's once he actually called me from, he was in India. He was doing his fellowship, attachment. And he called me from there, and he was nagging on and on. Oh my God. But he was so persistent in making sure that I have progress in my thesis. And in the end, I must sincerely thank him, because without him doing so, probably I would have lagged by 6 months to complete it. And it's Dr. Tay. Okay. The next person is someone I know for actually a very short period of time, but it was a huge impact because he motivated to hang on there with some very timely advices on my most challenging times. He's also a person who stressed the importance of group study. I don't have his photo here, that's why I put up this photo, because the name is similar. So probably those football fans will know him. Dr. Johan, thank you. Actually, there are so many others I would like to thank. The list goes on and on. My teachers, Prof. Saw, Prof. Chris Chan, those last-minute lectures, the classes that we had with you were actually very, very valuable to me and to all of us. I think it was like for example, like Prof. Chris, he spoke on positioning of patients for spinal procedures and also anterior cervical approach. And during my Viva 2, that's the surgical Vivas, I had Prof. Halim. And you know, when we have Prof. Halim, that's one of the killers. So thank God that he asked me about why you position the patient, how you position the patient, and he was so, he went in so detailed, every minute things. And that's when I was smiling and grinning because I knew everything because Prof. Chris have already taught me everything about it. Thanks, Prof. Chris. Also, Prof. Saw, who the last lectures, I think he had about 4 lectures with us. He made things so perspective and made it clear and how that we can approach those topics. Thanks, Prof. Saw. So many others like Prof. Azahar, Prof. Kamaro, Prof. Azlina, Prof. Razif, Prof. Eng, and Dr. Simrat, Dr. Shuhaib, and like Dr. Lee, CK, Dr. Chan, Dr. Chikit, Dr. Roshan, Dr. Kantan, Dr. Lau, Dr. Terence, and everybody. Thank you very much. So the next category is my buddy lecturers. Actually, these are like. Okay, my colleagues actually, so who became lecturers, Salim, Khalid, and Khalid is a foreign fellow, but he was like a buddy to me also, and Dr. Theo Xiao Hui. Salim is a foreign buddy from Oman. He was very, very supportive and gave a lot of encouragements, especially towards the last few days. He was someone who had more confidence in me getting through than me. And Theo, she was the only lecturer that I regarded as a colleague and not a lecturer, and practically I sometimes bullied her during the postings. Okay, of course, not forgetting my fellow batchmates, and most importantly is my study groups, really outstanding guys, Shams, Navin, who's not here today, and 2 other guys from UIA. Unfortunately, they didn't get through, but they were a gem of persons who shared all they had with us, which indirectly helped me to get through. And also the guy on the on my right, Selvin from UKM. He's an amazing guy. He didn't get it through. This was his 3rd attempt, and he was so persistent, and he was like a supporting pillar. And to my junior pals, so during the exam, be like a duck. Above the surface, you must look calm and unruffled, but below the surface, you like a spider like hell. So, but unfortunately, the examiners, they know that the ducks can be caught by going underwater and grabbing the feet. So be careful about it. So good luck, guys, and thank you, everyone.
First of all, I would like to say good mornings and to all my teacher, my fellow colleague. So first, I'm going to share about a very important group of people in my 4 years of training by my teachers. So teacher are the only people who create all other professions. So 4 years ago, we entered the orthopedic master program very confused. So this is basically what we do. So we were practicing orthopedic like a cowboy style. So if you look at the picture clearly, you will see the boot actually upside down. I think probably this is how the origin of rotational plastic come from. Okay, so the next picture will be, however, we met the best teacher in my life who showed us where to look, but didn't tell us what to see. And hence we grow wiser and more light bulb above our head. Okay, so this is another quote. Tell me and I forgot, but teach me I may remember. Involve me and I learn. So we were involved with a lot of clinical duties, then there was where we gain our knowledge and skill and experience. So, and that I think the key to success in exam last week is our teacher and all the last minute lectures and the experience for the past 2 years. So we actually owe all of this to our teacher, who consists of all our lecturer, professor, and even the hospital supporting staff, all the MA, the scrum nurse who help us a lot in the OT, and our dearest patient, of course. Like most of our lecture taught us, the patient is a great teacher. Basically, for the patient, I personally, want to thanks a lot to all the lecturers who actively involved in our long case teaching. Because during the last minutes, the exam, what I can hold on is the experience and what I have taught during the long case. So thank you very much for all the lecturers who involved in the long case and the short case teaching. So actually some of my colleagues couldn't make it for today, I think because of families and others reasons. So I would like to, on behalf of my batch, so I would like to express our lightest gratitude to all our teachers. Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my a little experience with all of you at this honorable event. So during my first 4 years of my 4 years of master program, apart from the stress, I also gained some thought that helped me to improve myself. So one time when I was assisting a total knee replacement in an operation theater, and everyone was paying full attention, and suddenly, actually there's a fly buzzing inside the surgeon's hood. And we are all stunned at that moment because the surgeons is very, very particular about the sterility in the OT. So in my mind at that time, oh my God, the volcano is going to erupt. But instead, the surgeon calmly walk out of the OT, take out the hood, and pass it to the staff nurse, and rescrub and resume his operations. So at that moment, I've learned something very important. That is, even if someone or something that agitates you, you must remain calm and focused and accomplish what you have begin on the start. There are a lot of knowledge and skill I have learned from the professor, lecturer, and specialists during my master program. And a lot of time I spent with them in the hospital. And we did spend some of the times outside our office hour. We play badminton every Thursday during my posting in hospital Alosta. And we have breakfast and lunch together with the lecturer and also the professors during lunch or breakfast in University Malaya. This gives us the opportunity not only to have balance between work and also social life, but also we get to know each other better. Besides knowledge and skill, some professors like to share their life philosophy and also learning philosophy. So one particular philosophy that remains embedded in my head is don't Cambridge. So whenever you are not sure or you don't know one particular matter, please say don't know or ask. And this does help me during my learning procedures, and also it does help me during my exam as well. So whenever I don't know about one particular thing, I said not sure, and the examiner will move on to the next questions, and this prevent me from hitting the bush around, and also digging my own grave. Last but not least, this is our Kelantan uncle fried rice that we spend most of our lunch and also dinner near our motel there in Kelantan during our examinations. Okay, this looks really really delicious. But after 16, 17, 18, 20 meals there, it's feel very, very, very difficult to swallow. And the stress that time actually is very killing. Okay, so thank you very much. At last, to my colleague, at last we get through. This is our batchmate. Further, I would like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude towards all the professors and also all the lecturers who have provided the guidance, and also I really appreciate it and give me the opportunity to learn from you all. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Prof. Bala, Dato Marikan, my respected lecturers and my fellow colleagues. So this is my topic from extinction to distinction. Just to clarify, I'm not really a distinction student by paper qualification, but I believe if you are a graduate going to go out from this hospital, all of us by default, we are all a distinction student. Okay, thank you. So let me start my story. About 8 months ago, I was facing the possibility of getting expanded, this close to be extended about 6 months due to my thesis problem. So I was already preparing for the worst. As I was walking down the staircase, I was thinking, 6 months delay, my marriage will be also delayed. So a lot of things to consider. But then, the unexpected thing happened. Charlie's Angel just don't appear in movies. They do exist in real life. And actually, they appear in UM also. So I had my Charlie's Angel. Okay, they gave me a second chance. I managed to complete my thesis in time and finally eligible to sit for the finals. So who are my Charlie's Angel? Of course, none other than my own supervisor, Prof. Azura. Thank you, Prof. Azura. My co-supervisor, Mr. Kandan. Thank you, Mr. Kandan. Of course, Prof. Vivek, as a HOD, who has given me the time during my onco posting to complete my thesis. But so we have 3 angels here. So what about Charlie? Who's Charlie? Well, I have to thank Prof. Azaha, because being the head of TRC, he allowed me to use the NOCERAL biomechanical lab to complete my thesis. So all of you, all of my fellow colleagues who go to sit for exam, all of you will have some problem. But don't worry, there are a lot of angels around in UM. There are many types. Okay? Some of them can be like this, Freddy Krueger. They appear in long caves once in a while. They will dissect you up and down. But don't worry, for every yin, there's always a yang. You have Gandalf. He will give you philosophical way to approach things. So, I'm sure you'll know who's Gandalf and who's Freddy Krueger. So, we have Charlie's Angels, Freddy Krueger, or Gandalf. All of them are here not to intimidate you, but they actually help us to pass the exam. One thing I need to tell you all, never be a chicken. I used to be a chicken, but I think the best is I try to transform and become a duck. Sorry, you also use my same slide. So be like that, always calm on the surface, all right? And so that will make you get through in your exams. Thank you. Thank you once again.
Assalamualaikum and very good morning. I think I'm the only other person who don't have to pull down the slide, the microphone. I'm probably the last person to stand between lunch. So there are a lot of people here today. There are people who have been in orthopedics for a very long time, and to the people who are just beginning their journey. I think I'm one of the few people who are still very young in this room. I'm only 33. So I chose this topic because we've only passed the exams 2 days. It was quite daunting. Although some people were sleeping, I have not been sleeping much because after coming back, I have a new son who's only 6 weeks old. So I've not been sleeping much. So I thought about the topic and it came to me this morning at 5. So exams, well, Oxford says it as a formal written, spoken or practical test. But for me, I believe that exams, all of us go through some form of exams at some point of our life. So I began my journey here in 2011. So at that time, when I finished my high school, I always wanted to come to UM or UKM to do medicine. But I think unfortunately at that time, I was not that rajin of a student. I think I was quite lazy, so I did not have the qualifications at that time. But Alhamdulillah for me, in 2011, I finally did manage to come in. So what happened in 2011? 6 months after coming in, I had to sit for my part 1 exam. So for the first time in my life, I failed an exam. So this was actually a very shocking thing for me. I've never failed any exams before. But for me, this made me sit down and think, what did I do wrong, or what could I do better? So actually, fail here doesn't mean anything. It just means it's the first attempt in learning something. So in 2012, so this is an ultrasound picture. I got married just before I came in. We were trying to get, me and my wife, we were trying to get a child since the very beginning. And about 2 years down the road, we were very happy. When one day I was sitting here during one of the courses, it was the onco course, and my wife suddenly sent me a picture of the UPT, came back as positive. So this was one of the earliest ultrasound scan. I think this was only about 8 weeks. Sadly, 4 weeks later, when we went for follow-up, we could see the features of the baby was there, the head, the limbs, but there was no heartbeat. So again, this was another thing that was quite devastating for us, for me and my wife at that time. So 2013. So I think those who were around last year, I showed a similar picture. So I was in my hand posting. I don't know why, but one morning I woke up. It was during the fasting month, and I couldn't smile. Then at that time, a lot of thoughts came to my mind, because one of the things when you get Bell's palsy, there's a small percentage of people who don't recover. So when you don't recover, what happens is I can't close my eyes. At that time, even when I eat, my saliva was drooling, and I had to push with a finger. And this made me think a lot. And when I recovered about a month later, I was so thankful. But it made me think that life is short. Things can just happen just like that. And again, 2014. I think we were supposed to submit our thesis. And so I think because of the stress maybe. So but yeah, I had a pneumonia with an exacerbation of my asthma. That was the first time I came in and I experienced firsthand being a patient here. I think those who were here knew what happened. I eventually ended up in ICU, but Alhamdulillah, all came out well. So then this year, I sat for the exams. So this exam, for me, I feel, and I think I speak for the rest of my friends, is one of the most stressful exams I've ever sat for. Even the part 1, which I failed the first time, it was studying for the exam was not as difficult the second time round, because I think we didn't have to face examiners face to face. So, but when it came to this exam, because you had the second part, and I think those who have gone through it and passed the exam, they know that it's actually quite daunting when you are faced with 3 or 4 examiners sitting in front of you, and some of them, they try to pull your leg from under the water. So it can be quite difficult. But I think whatever all said and done, I think that my 4 years in UM it prepared me well. And I think to all my juniors out there, every word that is said from our teachers, regardless of who they are, regardless of how they say it, it may be shouting, it may be a whisper, but these are the gems that you must keep with you, because it is important to be calm in exams, because if you don't remain calm, then you will tend to say things that you don't really mean, but in the exam, the examiners will catch you on this. So this is a picture of my son. I showed this picture to my wife. This was actually the first slide I prepared at 5 o'clock in the morning. And the first thing she said to me, first time father. So I said, yeah. But looking back, I was thinking, well, actually here you can see, there's a picture of me somewhere, there, this is me. And this is my father. So I looked back and I realized, just like children, when they are born, you need to be guided. For the past 6 weeks, the 2 weeks since my son was born, I did not really study much. We were in and out of hospital because he was born premature. He had prolonged jaundice for a while, so it was quite difficult. But then I realized, just as a baby, we all need to be guided. So the thing about babies is they don't know that they need to be guided, so they will just cry. He wakes up at night and cry and cry and cry. So same like us, if we don't listen to what people are trying to teach and guide us, then it'll be difficult. So what next? So this is the end of one journey, and I think the beginning of another journey. And I think, like I said at the beginning, so all of us go through some form of exams. So for me, I believe that life itself is an exam. And some people, they live very long lives, see their grandchildren, see their great-grandchildren, and see them pass through their own exams. But some people, they don't live for so long. About 3 weeks ago, I had a friend, a classmate. While we were studying, he was my classmate when I was doing undergraduate. He passed away. He was my age. He's 33. He's a pharmacist. So what happened was, he just recently transferred. He was working in Kuantan. Then he came and transferred to a university in KL. The night that he went back to visit his family, because they were planning to shift. So he arrived at night, and the next morning he saw his wife and kids. So he has 3 children, and the youngest is 3 months old. So what happened was, at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the wife tried to wake him up from sleep, and he just didn't wake up. So I think let us all give, I think, about 10 to 20 seconds of silence and make some prayer for all those who have gone before us, and also, and I think this past few years have been quite disastrous and testing in many ways. Let us take a few moments to give a prayer to those who have gone before us. Al-Fatiha. Amin. So I think towards the end, words cannot describe how deeply my gratitude is to everyone in this hall, and also those who are not in this hall, because in some way or another you have contributed to all of us. And if I don't see you again after this, well, my prayers are that all is well with everyone. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.